Welcome back to Purple Noon, a podcast that feels good to say. I am Stephanie Conti, and I am here with my best friend. I am not comparing her to any damn person in this movie that we're talking about. They're a bunch of sex pests, and she is not. Savannah Lanausse, my bestie / not a sex pest.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, I had to defend your honor. I had to defend your name.
Oh, well, look at us, back again.
We just had a nice discussion together in our own time, talking about Purple Noon and the future of Purple Noon. And before we get jump started into talking about Empire of Passion, we real quickly just wanted to give a bit of a lowdown of what to expect from Purple Noon podcast. We are quitting for good. I'm kidding. No, we're not. That would be like
jump
Savannah.
Scare.
Jump scare. No, like we were just talking about it, and I think we are going to put, and we kind of have been, but it'll just be stated, we're going to be putting a bigger emphasis and a bigger priority on retro films. And, you know, we were just talking about it, and not only is it a more accessible thing for us, you know, that Criterion channel be bleeding us dry every day, but also I'm more excited to discover hidden gems, hidden treasures that already exist than going and spending, $40 to see a movie nowadays?
No joke. It is $20 to go see a movie on Saturday night now at the AMC. Insane.
That is absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. And I think the writing on the wall is there's still a writer's strike, and that affects TVs and movies.
Yep.
And film, if this writer's strike doesn't end soon, it's already going to cause a lot of issues. But it's going to be a drought of good filmmaking. Mm-hmm. Because within the future, the only things that are going to be, and we're kind of seeing this now too, where the only things being pushed are the guaranteed blockbusters, right? They have to have the big names. They have to have a very easy, digestible type plot, or it has to be from a big name director. We're really not going to see much of like indie success as what we used to see even like 5 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
So is there any other comments you want to say on that, bestie?
No, guys, we're getting back to our roots. You're going to see a lot of, what did I say? Weird Japanese movies, some obscure European films, but also some fan favorites. I'm really excited to talk about some of my favorite movies, and Stephanie's favorite movies as well. So it's going to be a fun time.
And because we're going to be more experimenting with either like older films and stuff, we also want to do some more experimenting with content. So the podcast is here to stay, but we are also going to try to start making short form video like reviews and video essays, or mini essays, I guess you could say, on either other movies that we haven't talked about yet or movies that we have already talked about, but maybe like it's a topic or something like that we really just want to isolate because it's something that we love to talk about. So, or like kind of like highlights of our podcast, but now you'll be able to hear us while, like, if we're talking about a certain scene, and you'll be able to see the scene of that movie. So it'll be a more streamlined, like almost like a commentary clip, if you will, where it's us talking about the movie. And so we're going to be going through that, and we're going to be making some edits. And it's because, if you don't know, on the channel, when this was just a Stephanie Reviews channel, how it used to be like in 2016, 2017, I made a video called on Le Samurai, a 3-minute video. And it is crazy to say that something that I made in 2016 garnered 25,000 views within this year, closer to 10 years old. Within this year only, it made it garnered 25,000 views more. So I love watching videos like that. I didn't think anyone else did. So I'm excited to also bring that. We are also going to be experimenting with some newer type of content on our Patreon. We need to finally show some love to our Patreon. So please stay in tune for that. We have some fun stuff coming, and we'll be announcing the type of projects. When the projects are all done and made, we'll be announcing what will be available on the Patreon. Are you excited, Savannah? I'm
I'm
excited for this.
so excited to talk about this
So
movie.
this is going to be, Purple Moon's not changing, but she's getting older, so we're going to go in and give her a little bit of
She's
Botox.
growing,
She's
evolving.
going to get a little bit of a facelift, if you will. And yeah, so that's really it to expect from Purple Noon from here on out. And we're very excited for it. And now, without further ado, we're going to talk about Empire of Passion. Before we get into
Ooh.
it, Savannah, would you like to discuss how you discovered or how you were forced to discover about Empire of Passion?
Yeah. I can't remember if it was because we give each other a lot of gifts constantly, so I can't remember
Yeah,
if
we
it was
celebrate like every
literally.
holiday.
I can't remember if it was like a Halloween little in my Halloween basket or if it was like another holiday, but randomly
I actually think I dared this on your birthday. I think I
you
did
might
it
have
on your
given to me
birthday
on my
one year.
birthday. You're right. It might have been like Christmas birthday time. Okay. So I got it as a gift. And I remember you telling me, you're like, yeah, I just picked it out. I thought you like it. Okay. Right.
I went blind and I want to defend myself real quick by saying I didn't even watch it myself. I was like, I definitely don't want to get her something that she's already had. So I'm going to get her a wild card. And then so I did.
So remember the description also like in your defense as well, it doesn't really like explain a lot. It just says like, oh, a woman gets into an affair and
And
like
so to read the description out loud, it says a married woman and her lover murder her husband and dump his body into a well. After a while, his ghost comes to haunt him. We only read the first sentence, I think, or we only had the first sentence where it was
I'm
like,
thinking
oh,
like murder
ooh.
mystery in Japan. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought this was going to be. I watched this on like a Wednesday, bright day, like 2 in the afternoon. Like Paulo was around. I can't even tell you the scream I let out when I saw. We'll talk about it, but this movie ends up being very graphic, and I was blindsided. I did
Hence the
not
sex
expect it.
test reference
It was
I was making
baffling
earlier.
for a 1970s movie. I was like, "Oh, wow. They really just went for it." I screamed because I wasn't prepared. So, I really enjoyed the experience of going into this movie blind. It was definitely something that I won't forget, even if I think you gave this to me like a year ago. No, not even like 2 years ago. And I will not forget the first time I watched this movie because of how surprised I was.
Yeah, I don't think, and you know what it is? I think it's because when you think of like a little bit of history about the film and stuff and about like Japanese cinema for the time, um, movies in Japan were actually not allowed to have nudity during this time. So for it to be a Japanese film with nudity is all of a sudden like, huh? How does that exist? And it's because this film is technically listed as a French Japanese film. There's no French in this film.
No, there's not.
The reason why is because in order for it to legally be made, the director would shoot everything in Japan but edit in France, from what I've heard. So that way there wouldn't be any legality issues. I don't see how. I feel like it's like, hey, you're shooting the sex scenes in Japan. That should be enough red tape, you know? But there, I've heard, like, it's actually labeled as like a French Japanese film. And look, it's a slutty French film to its core. And I know I'm an expert in slutty French films, and that's what it is to its core. But yeah, so there was it's not surprising compared to, or I should say, it is surprising compared to other Japanese-based films from the time period, which is 1978.
Well, like my thing is, this is something I would expect. Like the graphicness, I should say, of the scenes is something I would expect for something like from the 2020s. This is from 1970 something, and it's that graphic. I really like. I get what you're saying with the French Japanese. There is no way they got away with this. That man. Did he get fined? Because there's no way. It wasn't like, oh, a little something something. It was everything. It was everything.
Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe it could have been like a like, oh, like your film was banned for a certain amount of years. I'm actually going to see if it's now banned in Japan currently. So Empire of Passion banned. I don't think it is. I think it's still, or maybe at one point it was. But yeah, it is labeled a 1978 French-Japanese film, which is very interesting.
I read on IMDb that this is Michael Cera's favorite movie, and I
I
want to
read
know
that too.
why.
I read that too. Oh man, I
What?
think he mentioned this. I think he mentions this movie in the Criterion Hall that he does, the famous one where he's. Yeah, wait. Hold on, we gotta do a little bit of research because Savannah. Well, remember how when he holds up a DVD, he's like, "Oh, I'm matching with the DVD."
Oh
I
no.
think that's a box set of this director's work.
Nobody asked him questions? Like, why? What
Well, I
makes this
mean,
your
it's like
favorite
Bill Hader
movie?
also going in and pulling out Solo and going, yeah, this one, you know? Let's see. I'm looking it up right now. Michael Cera Criterion. While I'm looking this up, Esty, do you want to give the full synopsis on the movie?
Sure. Let me pull it up real quick because I have it right here. So, the full synopsis is a young man has an affair with an older woman. He is very jealous of her husband and decides that they should kill him. But this doesn't work out for them because the husband comes back to haunt them. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Um,
And oh wait, I see the box that he's matching. Oh no, it's an Alan King box set. I thought he would have mentioned. I thought it was. I could. I know that there's more of this director's work in the Criterion. At least I thought so. I think In the Realm of the Senses is also in the Criterion. But yeah, apparently this is his favorite film, and I just have to point out that my favorite comment on that video of him in the Criterion closet, it says, "I feel like he could cry at any moment." It's my favorite comment, and that's very true. No hate to Michael Cera whatsoever.
no hate at all. We love him.
Um, so yeah, so I had bestowed this movie upon you, and it was and then you called me up one day and you were like, that movie you gave me, did you see it? And I'm like, no. And you're like, and you know what you said to me? You said, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Paid me out like the sex pest in the films.
It wasn't that. It was, I know you like really like what am I looking
Watch
for?
out.
I know your favorite one of your favorite dramas, not like genres. Your favorite genres is like psychological horror within relationships. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
two people like torturing each other to some extent but also being in love. That's your favorite genre.
Well, my relationship has to be stable. So where else am I going to find the fun? No, I'm not crazy. I promise. I'm not crazy in relationships like that. But like
No, you like the
it,
drama. You like the
I like
passion.
the drama. It's even camp at some points, depending on what you're watching. And actually, I'm looking back. There is a crap ton of Oshima's films. He does have a box set where it's called Oshima's Outlaw 60s, where he
Ooh.
has other very crazy titled films like Three Resurrected Drunkards, To Sing a Song of Sex, Pleasures of the Flesh, Violence at Noon, and I'm seeing a little bit of bondage in the image. Japanese Summer, Double Suicide.
Okay.
Death by Hanging, and I will say probably his most standout film, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence,
Who?
is also by the same director.
Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, starring David Bowie.
No way. What?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. So yes, he also directed that where that is where Bowie is a British officer interned by Japan as a POW during World War II. I think it's World War II. Yeah, it's World War II. So we got a little bit of everything from this dude. We're getting war films, we're getting sex war films,
Man of variety.
we're getting relationship war films, we're getting a little bit of everything. But this definitely opened up the door for me. At least this definitely piqued my curiosity into this director's work because I'm like, not for the sex pest reasons, but it's like he was very daring. Like this is a daring film.
Oh
like
yeah.
This is like Lars von Trier level of daring. Maybe not as intense, but I feel like we can get into some more creepy, crazy shit if we go down this rabbit hole, which I'm all for. So Empire of Passion, as Savanna had beautifully described, it's directed by Nagishi Oshima. It is based off a book of the same name, I believe. And our two main actors are Tatsuya Fuji, who plays Toyoji, and we have Katsuko Yoshiyuki, who plays Seki. Now, these two actors, I know Tatsuya is in a lot of other Oshima films. And I mean, it seems like he's a perfect fit for someone in this universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's given me Sex Pest cowboy vibes, even though that he does not wear anything close to a cowboy. But his in this film, his I guess you could say his rambunctiousness.
Right.
He's daring. He's crazy. He's a little wild. He's a little bit not thinking straight because he's under Seki's spell of love, you know? And I think it's just such a daring film. Also, what else is daring, bestie? The sex scenes that they were showing in here, clutching my pearls and my
That's what
rosaries
I'm
as watching
saying.
something like this from the 78s. You know, what is this, Caligula?
Also,
Like,
I need to ask you a question because I'm not
okay.
sure. I did not know, and I still don't know if the first is this like simulated like assault?
Oh,
Because
if are you asking if like this is like look, it's an indie budget film,
oh no,
bestie.
no, I'm asking. Wait, no. I'm asking.
I thought you were asking, are the actors really doing it or are they like simulating it?
No. I didn't know if they were trying to depict the character getting assaulted. I assume that's what was going on. I didn't think it was consensual at first. So is she getting
Oh,
that's what I didn't understand. Like I thought that's what it was, but then as the relationship progressed, I didn't
it's she had a quick turnaround, you know?
that's what I'm saying. Like, is it supposed to be like the fact that she kind of like got manipulated and abused by this Japanese cowboy person, mentally ill person?
I
Or did
mean,
she like, oh, was it a situation where like I didn't really I don't know if that was super clear. It wasn't super clear to me. I
no,
just
it happened
assumed
so fast. It happened so fast. Literally, he was like, I like you. Her clothes were off, and he's like, yep, we're killing your husband. Like, it was just
yeah.
very fast, right? But it was also, there's a, you know why it's hard to determine? It's because there's a huge sense of desperation throughout this entirety, right? And everyone's heads are screwed on backward in this film, and it's very hard because everything is primal, everything is desperation. It is a bit hard to determine if like characters like our female lead are doing this to kind of survive or if they're doing this because they're thriving, you know. It's difficult. It's kind of like, you know, when you watch Last Tango in Paris, not to talk about my favorite movie again, but when you watch Last Tango in Paris, it's that's another thing too. It's like you go, wait a minute, this was gonna be rape, and it's not. Maybe like it's very hard to determine because, you know, there's a huge lines that are being blurred, and you know it's not outright being said, so it's kind of not like this is something where I do think the information needs to be spoon fed because we don't understand the inner workings and horniness of these characters yet. We're just thrown into the room with them and forced to watch, you know? So it's very difficult to kind of pinpoint how and why, if this was just a luck of the draw, if this was something she was just doing to survive, or if like was she saying no because it was non consensual, or was she saying no because she's like, well, I feel like if you're saying no, it's got to be
Well,
non-consensual,
that's
right? Like
so
that's
I interpreted the movie as she gets assaulted by this man. And I thought maybe since he was like, oh, we have to kill your husband, I assumed it was like, okay, like I have to do this now because technically I just, you know, me and this person, he had me. So like I have to go with him. Like I just thought maybe it was a situation where like she got assaulted and she thought that was her only option was to just, kill her husband, or maybe she thought like I understand what you're saying, like it's not super clear why she chooses to do the thing she does,
yeah,
but
or kind of just a lot of it letting it just occur. just like she's really not laying her foot down when it comes to a man, a stranger who just, had her down, is now coming in and killing in her husband, and she's not really trying to do much. She's kind of playing the game, but what game she's playing is a little bit odd. It's not a little bit crystal clear. I will say, I think, in opinion wise, I think it's probably the Last Tango in Paris effect, where it is something that was supposed to be as an assault, and then magically a man wrote it, so something that should be assault is now ideal, and consensual, even though there's so many gray lines.
Even though it didn't look consensual, but I mean, fine. But I thought it was interesting how she was the one that kind of went through the guilt period of like, eventually they both kill her husband and throw him in the wherever the hole, the well. There's a lot of holes and wells lately that we're talking about. What the last John in the hole? Is that not what we talked about recently? Oh my god,
yeah, that's a big theme. That's a big theme.
A lot of
in the Purple Moon scheme.
Yeah, but
you know what's funny? Would you believe? Because obviously, I'm I almost said a whore. I'm a big fan of Silent Hill 2, and there is a quote on like my little pin board that actually says because it shows up in the game. There was a hole here once, and now it's gone. So holes seem to be doing it for me. Take it as you will. Don't make it into something that it's not.
But, it's not what that means. Yeah. Yeah.
Next movie that we're reviewing, Holes, starring Shia LaBeouf.
No, she ends up going through this guilt period where she actually starts seeing the ghost of her husband.
Yeah.
But to my understanding, her abuser, her assaulter, does not. In fact, I think towards the end of the movie, he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore." Yeah. So I really feel like the movie is about like the unraveling of this woman's life, essentially.
I also think that there's something that okay. I think a little more context is needed because of the age of the people we're dealing with, right? Her husband looks old as hell. Husband looks at least to be in the 50s, right?
Well, she's also supposed to be older than the guy that was harassing her.
Yeah, you're right. He's like, oh yeah, I didn't think you were 40 or something like that.
I think he's supposed to be like 20 something, like mid 20s, which he does not look at all.
No,
I thought they were the same age, but apparently, like the synopsis says, a young man, and an older woman. But so I don't know if that means anything too. The fact that like there was an old husband, middle-aged woman, and then a very young man. I don't know if the ages mean something.
So I will say, just letting you know, on Wikipedia, the plot of this film actually says his wife is sexually assaulted by a young neighbor, Toyoji, and they become lovers. It's as gray as you can get with that. So it is by definition an assault turned lover.
I don't like that.
You know what it is? That's that is like the wishful thinking, right? Like where it's like, oh, if I maybe kiss this girl, she'll fall in love with me, and it's like there was no consent there, like I think it's just kind of like that gray washing of like what is consent and what is just romance, where it's you don't know. And clearly to us, like nowadays with we're educated youths, we go look at this and go, well, that's not consensual. Where back then this was just a fairy tale. This was just and they kissed and fell in love.
That's horrific. I don't know, like fine. I'm glad I was able to we're able to establish though, like the fact that we had to look up whether or not she was like, if that's what the movie was going for, there's something to be said there. I think if this was, because I also didn't know to interpret this as like maybe this was like a shock, like a response, like a trauma response almost. The fact that she now has to cling to this person, like her abuser, because they just did an awful crime together. I don't know if it was just like that, but the meaning of this movie, besides like a guilty conscience and like the reparation,
there's no moral. That's for sure. There's no moral.
There's no morals here besides like a guilty conscience.
Cheat.
But that's the issue, though. I feel like what the movie is trying to say is like bad things happen, and this is something that a lot like so back in the 19 I think 30s to early 50s or 40s, um, they had the Hays Code, I think it was called, where
Yeah.
it was like the morality clause of film. And one of the clauses says like you cannot show an affair gone right. Like something bad has to happen to both of the characters. They either end up miserable, somebody dies. So if you watch a lot of movies from the 30s and the 40s, somebody dies as a consequence to having an affair, or their life is miserable and the character sucks and we hate them. This feels
I don't know. I don't know if Oshima was abiding by that. I think he's just a little freak. I think he was just like,
this feels
ooh,
like that though. It feels like, oh look,
yes.
these two, had an affair and like they miserable because I don't like if that's where this movie was going. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that we're focusing on like the affair. And like obviously like the poor husband didn't do nothing and they just killed him off for.
And also, can we talk about how, like, it wasn't just like, oh, they poisoned his drink and he fell over. Like, it was an intense killing, too. And it wasn't like they had so many things that they could have done. Like, he was an old man sitting on the floor. Like, did you really have to strangle him for 2 minutes? Like, that was insane. That, like, you couldn't find anything else.
They didn't even have, like, theoretically speaking, right? This wasn't necessary, in my opinion. He was not.
Oh my God, Bessie, I just had a crazy ass idea.
What?
You continue your thought first and then
No,
I'll say mine.
I just thought like it wasn't necessary. Like, how would he theoretically find out? Like, really, like, genuinely speaking, an 80s, 70, I don't know. He looked very old. I'm not gonna
He
lie.
was very old.
He looked
Yes.
like he could have gone any second. And like it really didn't need to be that dramatic. And he really wouldn't have like
Maybe he had a rickshaw car accident
I
because he drove the rickshaw.
I didn't think it was necessary. I just it was so unnecessary. It was also such like a oh, we have to kill him now. It's like no, you don't. Relax. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't like he found out and was going to tell the town. So I was also just like, this is escalating to
Well, and my crazy idea
fast.
is that they could have just John in the hole him. They could have just put him in the well alive and just check up on him. Like it would have been the same thing, you know?
I guess fine.
But there were people around the well. There were people, but there were people around the well though, and that's how it started. But I was also surprised at how this ruse that they've hidden him and stuff like that had lasted so long. It was kind of portrayed as a while, right?
Well,
But
yeah,
my thing too,
yeah.
this sex pest of a cowboy, he kills this woman's husband, and then all of a sudden it feels like time passes, and he's like, maybe I'm not that crazy into you. You gotta be. You gotta be. You killed her husband. You gotta be. Like that's like that for him to just kind of get cold feet, not from the killing, but just like I don't know, the kids. I'm not really a father figure. You know what I mean? Like it felt like that was more of his reason for taking a step back. And then she's losing her mind because she's like, you killed my husband, now you have to be my secret husband and you're the only one who knows and now you can never leave me. And I get that reasoning, right? She's got to lock that down. She can't have the whole village know. But it's like crazy how he's just like, the murdering your husband part doesn't bother me, but this relationship maybe does. Like it feels like he actually put up, like, am I crazy for thinking that? Like I genuinely feel like
it was
towards some point he was like, I don't know if I'm into this anymore.
well, I think that's what like so I think the passion worn off for him. I think the fact that maybe like, oh yeah, I did this right away with her. I forced her to be with me, like literally and physically. Then we murdered her husband. And I feel like the thrill of it kind of went away for him. Like, oh, the exciting part is over. So now I actually have to settle down with
dead.
you.
I can have her anytime I want.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's definitely like something is very, I feel like he's definitely like the town menace too. I feel like that's how he was portrayed. Like, I feel like everybody in the town knows that this guy is like absolutely like just running through it crazy. I feel like she was the only one that didn't know. But yeah, I feel like his quote unquote the empire of passion for her when it like sizzled out, when like all the danger was kind of gone, because I think she was telling people like he was working, oh my husband's working, which I don't know, whatever. The fact
I just also think it's the fact that like, and I'm looking through because I'm just trying to see if any more information on like, yeah, like were we lost in translation? This was assault, right? And someone else who did a review also said that it was an assault. Like, and I guess like that's what makes it more scary, right? Here's a woman who's just been assaulted. You know, she's forced in this in adultery and then kind of forced into murder in a way, but doesn't even stop it because she like she doesn't put her foot down and go, no, you can't kill my husband. He's like, I gotta kill your husband. She's like, whatever it takes. Like it's just crazy how it just kind of progresses into that. But maybe that's the insanity. Maybe that's the passion. You know, I do wish that there was an angle of at least he was maybe like a bad husband. You know,
No, this poor
like just
guy was
something.
just. I feel like if you're not going to go to the direction of this isn't sexual assault, the only other thing you could say about this movie is then like, okay, she really did want to be with him, just took some harassment and like some convincing, I guess. And then she wasn't happy with her life. She was like, "Oh, you know what? Like let's kill my husband," or like had to kind of be like convinced into it. And that's where the guilty ghost is coming from, the fact that like, "Oh, I went along with this." I personally would be disappointed if that would be the interpretation of this movie, because I do feel like it makes more sense for her to have gotten assaulted, have been put in a situation where she feel like she couldn't escape, and now is feeling guilty for maybe not stopping it or maybe having to kill her
Well,
husband for
and
some.
let's also point out one other thing too. She gets all the hell from the consequences,
That's
and
true.
he just barely like. She's like, "Oh my god, I was taken advantage of. I was
Yeah.
forced to be involved with murdering my husband, and I become blind, and then it's all my fault. I'm the worst." Like she does get the worst punishment. Not only is also that ending scene is crazy. Like let's just say like the torturing scene of them too when it's been convicted that with the murder and things like that is like absolutely insane. It's very jarring because it's just them being strung up and then they just get beaten and that's how the movie ends. You know, like it's such a crazy and abrupt ending. But also like I don't know, maybe the her being blind is like maybe a metaphor in a way for her. I feel like it's an unfair metaphor, right? But maybe it's just her like maybe it's like, oh, you listen to him so blindly murdering your husband, be blind.
Which is like an insane take to me. Because in all no, but like in all honesty, I feel like this guy was so scary. Like he scared me. If he says, "Hey, I'm gonna kill your husband," and she says no, how much you want to bet that he's just gonna be like, "Oh, okay." I 100, I
He
90%
probably would have
feel
moved
like
on.
either he would have moved on or he would have been like, "Well, I'm gonna do it anyway." I do not see a situation where he assaults this woman and then goes, "I'm going to kill your husband," and he just goes, "Oh, never mind if you don't want me to." That's definitely not what was going to happen. He would have been like, "Yeah, I'm still going to do it."
Yeah, I feel like it's also maybe a fact of like maybe in the moment he was like, "No, I want to be hers," and if the only way to be hers, because there's no such thing as divorce, I have to kill her husband, and then when everyone's like, "Oh, he's dead," then I can step in and I can be her man and stuff, and of course that never even flows fully to fruition, you know.
Yeah. So I
That's the only other thing that I could think like. But even so, like you're right. Like if she had said like, no, I kind of don't want to murder my husband. Like, was he wouldn't have killed her? At least I wouldn't think. I mean, he's crazy, but he's not that crazy.
no, I
I
don't
feel
think he
like he
would have.
would have been like fine and
Yeah.
then moved on.
I 100, I either think he would have done it anyway or he would have just not been, cuz he gets so cooled off at the end that like there's a good chance that he just would have been like, "Yeah, you know what? Not feeling this anymore. I'm not going to kill him." But because I think her reaction was too, I don't know. It's you can definitely interpret this movie, unfortunately, in different ways. And I say unfortunately because like to me it's pretty clear that this woman was assaulted and got, you know, beaten into doing this, and then at the end of the movie she's kind of the one that, like you said, gets the worst of it. But I don't know.
So I'm looking at some other reviews on Letterboxd, and there's not a lot of reviews on Letterboxd, clearly, for something like this, right? 4 people say that this is one of their favorites. 4 people.
Oh man.
And I'm looking at one review, and I guess maybe I just went blind during the scene. Was
Okay.
there a shaving scene?
I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
I think there, yes. I think I kind of blacked out when I watched that because I was just like, I don't know how to go through this.
I like probably saw a glimpse and fast forward because I really couldn't handle much more. Like I don't do well with those kind of scenes. There probably was. There was. Probably. Mm-hmm. That's very Last Tango in Paris, isn't it?
Well, okay. Well, yes, but I also feel like, look, because maybe I'm crazy, but maybe it was his thing of like, oh, I have a fetish to shave you, but if you shave, your husband will know that it's not because of him. It's because of, I don't know. So I have to kill you because I've shaven you, or I have to kill your husband because he will know once you've been shaven.
Was it? Because I don't know. I don't know
It could
why.
be.
What
It could be. I'm not getting concrete answers, but I'm saying that it look, no one's logical in this movie. Let's be clear about that. No one is thinking with their head, okay? And so I think maybe that could be like a dumb reason, you know? Like that could be like, "Oh, I want you paint your fingernails red, but your husband likes French nails, you know, little French nails. So I guess you'll have to kill him because I like red nails." Like that feels like the logic of this movie, Savanna. Like I like a little red almond nail, and you
Dude,
have square cut French
the
tips.
husband was
It's
so
gotta go.
old though. Like what really genuinely, like what? Yeah, like you said, I don't know how logical the thought process was, but this was very daring for 1978. I'll give the director and the writer that. Like this was definitely something that you were not going to see again till like this type of film till I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a weird plot. I give the director a lot of credit for just you know, just daring, just a dude being a
Just
dude
throwing
in
something out
78,
there, you know? Just throwing it
just
out there.
throwing it out there. But it also is a really well filmed film.
It
Like, I
is.
really love the atmosphere. I really do like, as awkward as it is, the good chemistry that is shown between the main characters. I feel like they were a good match, per se, in terms of like pairing, and they just look really good on the screen, except during the bad scenes. But yeah, like I think it's a really well done film, and I loved how the ghost execution was done.
Yeah.
I think it was super well, and it was very creepy because it wasn't just like a ghost of him being normal. It was a ghost of him dead still. Like it was a ghost of what he looked like when he died, which I think was a really smart way, because I think if he was just normal and was like, "Honey, why do you do this?" I feel like it would just be really weird, or a bit cheesy. But him coming back is like the form of his dead ghost, and like that really creepy, like you can even see still like on his neck where he was choked and stuff like that. I think it makes it a lot creepier, and I like that.
Yeah, for sure. I thought that was very good. I did like the I don't know what to call it, a set design. I liked the background. I loved if you can call it costumes. I loved that. I really liked the actors in the movie. Um, I guess everything else I did enjoy and I saw value in. Um, the plot was maybe not for me, but I can see how the writing was pretty well done. I can see something about the ending.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to word this without not sounding crazy. I can see something about the ending being symbolistic, which I did kind of like. But yeah, if for me the plot, uh probably not for me, but I think everything else I did thoroughly enjoy.
Bestie, I have breaking news. Apparently, this is one of Ari Aster's favorite film as well.
Why didn't I guess that? Why didn't I guess that?
That makes a lot of sense.
I'm
That
not
makes a
even
lot
gonna
of
talk.
sense.
I'm so scared of him. Like genuinely, I'm more.
Did you ever look? Did you ever see Bo?
Abso-freaking-lutely. I told you the day we saw Midsummer, I said I'm never watching his movies again because I cannot handle it. Do I know what happens in Beau is Afraid? Of course I do. I looked it up and I'm happy I didn't see it.
I'm
Because
gonna be honest with you. Totally forgot that it even came out. I remember everyone was like, "Oh my god, the trailer!" But I feel like I heard nothing about it when the actual film was released.
yeah, look, good kudos to him. He seems like he's a talented man. I cannot handle it. And
Fair
he
enough.
scares me. He scares me. I don't think I can handle. I think this is worse than Lars von Trier for me.
For Empire of Passion.
Oh no, I meant Ari Aster.
Oh.
I, I would rather.
That wasn't a comparison. I was thinking about. I mean, I'm gonna say no, just because we don't have any sexual assault issues with Ari Aster
Oh
just yet.
no, I'm just saying. Like I'm more scared of him as I guess, a person. You're right. Lars von Trier is a Mary. I don't know. They're on my list. They're both on my
Let's
list.
look. I'm not trying to be like an Ari Aster #1 fan. I do like some of his work. I think he's a little bit over the top with certain things. It really goes in for the gusto. I still appreciate it because I still feel like he's making more original stuff than most people and most directors are doing
Yeah,
these days.
absolutely.
But Lars von Trier did say some unsavory things during the Cannes Film Festival. Let's not also forget that this man was banned from the Cannes Film Festival because he didn't win for Europa. He stood up when it was announced he didn't win. He flicked everyone off, ran away, and was like banned for 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. He's
So
a problem. Genuinely.
that's a sex pest right there. But overall, I mean, Empire of Passion, bringing it back to it, I do feel like it's difficult, right? And I say that because as someone who loves Last Tango in Paris, people will be like, "Oh, Stephanie, you should love this movie. You should be drooling over this movie." I feel like there's such a Last Tango in Paris is more delusional, and I like that.
Well, I
It's
feel like
more
also
delusional. It's
Last Tango
more
in Paris, there's also like a clear cut understanding of like what their relationship was. It was not healthy. At some times they had great, like I feel like Last Tango in Paris, believe it or not, was a little bit more clear to me when I watched it. And there was a lot more significance to their relationship. I just think this was lunacy. Like I don't see I hope that's why I'm saying I hope the interpretation of her just being like a victim would last because that makes the most sense to me. The other
yeah.
interpretations don't make sense to me, genuinely. Other than that, this movie is just chaos. And if that's what they were going for, then great. I think they executed really well. But if that's not what they were
And
going
I
for,
think
then I
also the environment makes like look, the sex is a big part of this film, not for the fact that it's just sex, but because it creates such an unsettling environment. Like with Last Thing on Paris, I don't consider this a sex movie or that a sex movie, but the sex is used very. I think I'm not going to say it's used well in this movie because it's very something else, but I think it's getting the director as a point because I feel like this director wants lunacy. I feel like this director is like, I want crazy, I want bewilderment, I want sex pest cowboy, and I feel like that he couldn't have made it more clear with the sex scenes that are in this. I feel like it was kind of used as like a really aggressive tool in a really aggressive way to be like, this is wrong, and I'm going to make you feel uncomfortable. This is wrong. And I can, from directorial standpoint, I can kind of appreciate that, but in execution wise, it does make you feel weird. It does make you feel weird watching the film. Look, and I'm not saying Last Tango in Paris is an easy watch. We know the better scene. we know Marlon Brando spreading it wide.
But I
Like
think
we're familiar with those. But there's something a little bit more unnerving and a little bit more animalistic with the sex that's shown in here than something in like Last Tango in Paris. It's just funky in Last Tango in Paris. But here it's like watching an animal documentary where you're just watching the animals have sex.
well, that's what I was going to say, though. I feel like with Last Tango in Paris, we do get to know our characters a little bit more intimately. And we get to know them as people, and especially like Brando in the scenes with his deceased wife. Like I felt like I could understand. Not I'm not saying I justify some of these actions, but like okay, I'm like I understand why you are the person today doing these actions.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with any of these people, like in their brains. I don't know these people. I don't know these
Yeah, the
characters.
inner mechanics of how this is working and stuff. Like I've talked about it on the podcast that I did with David Blakesley from Criterion Cast. Like I can look at Jean from Last Tango in Paris, and I can sympathize and I can relate to her as a young woman, who's had crushes on older men and was very close to being abused in relationships like that. I can't look at Seki and be like, girl, I get it. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that when I watch this movie. I'm not going, girl, I understand. I'm not supposed to understand. I would hope I'm not supposed to understand,
Yeah.
At least with Last Tango in Paris, I could sympathize and empathize. And I can give like Seki empathy and stuff like that, but I don't understand the inner mechanics of that brain. And that's where I think the difference between something like this and Last Tango in Paris is for me, despite them having a lot of similarities.
Yeah, I think that's fair. 100%.
So, okay. So that is our review of Empire of Passion. Oh, and the last thing I'll say, soundtrack, fantastic.
Oh,
The soundtrack for it
yeah.
was fantastic.
Very
really
good.
added to the horror ambiance and everything too. So I always love to point out soundtracks. But okay, so I can't say would you own it on Criterion because I forced it. I already beat you at that, and I have my own copy as well. I could have just rented it. I went on, I was like, no, for me to watch it, I'm buying my own copy, and I did, and I have it. But for your rating of this film, what would you give it?
It's difficult because
horrible rewatchability.
I barely wanted to watch it again for this. I also, I am not, and I've talked about on the podcast before, I do not enjoy sex scenes. I just don't. It's a lot of the times I feel like they're purposeless and whatever. My little Christian eyes were burning. I was like, this is a lot.
Oh my God. Like some of the scenes I was like, am I watching the hub version? What am I watching?
I like had to fast forward. I was like, this is too long. I'm good. I got the gist. So in that regard, I understand I have a bias, and this is clearly above anything I have watched ever lately, to be honest. So my score is probably gonna have some bias in it. I appreciate a lot of aspects of the movie. I understand why it's in the Criterion. I get it.
I think it's a pioneer in terms of like,
yeah,
that mentally ill romantic type of thing that I veg with so much. But it's a hard watch, and I think it's supposed to be. I don't think this is supposed to be. Look, and Last Tango in Paris is not supposed to be someone's comfort film, but I broke the boundaries for that. But I don't think this is supposed to be someone's comfort film either. Michael Cera, you're a freak for saying that this is one of your favorites. I get it; it's good, but if you're cozying up by a fireplace and you're watching this every year, we need to talk, bud.
The issue with me is I didn't enjoy watching the movie. I just like winced through it. I was interested to see what was happening, and like the soundtrack and the set design, like I enjoyed those parts of the movie. But if we're talking about the plot, and the characters, I was like, I am barely getting by. So
yeah, there's also a huge, and like this doesn't have to be a thing with the movie, but I've never watched a movie and I'm like, yes, I relate to absolutely nothing. No emotion felt in this film could I ever relate to.
This is just I'm gonna give you my personal score. If you
I feel like, look, it's a rough film. I don't feel like anyone would judge you, and like you've already said good things about it.
If you are into movies, like if you are film person, I think you should watch this once. Please be ready to fast forward a lot, but like I understand why the film community, it should be talked about in some regard. So I would recommend it in that way. Just be ready, like I said, to fast forward. So my personal enjoyment score of this movie is like a 3.
That's fair. That's
And
fair.
it's nothing against the director. It's nothing
Now,
against the
if
writer.
you were to analyze this film, exclude all the sex scenes, all of those were cut out.
Yeah.
What would you give the film?
Probably closer to a 6.
Okay, so just so that way we can gauge in how much
Yes.
the sexual nature of this film lays.
Yeah.
I'll go a little bit higher because I'm a little bit more. I'm closer to a sex pest than you are mentally because of my film choices and things like that. By the way, sex pest is not an action, it's a state of mind. Let's make that clear here. So because of my favorite types of movies, this isn't the worst. Look, I saw that one movie with oh my god, I'm blanking on his name. Um, beloved actor who passed away, who was in Talented Mr. Ripley, Philip Seymour Hoffman. I saw a sex scene with Philip Seymour Hoffman, and I've never been the same with that. So look, this was just barely a little bit better than that movie. Because seeing a voracious and animalistic sex scene with an older Hoffman is kind of crazy, and you wouldn't think it exists, but it does. And it was kind of crazy. So with that being said, I probably would give this a 5 out of 10. I think it's really fun and special, but I think it's so crazy, and I genuinely couldn't even watch it the second time. I just kind of skipped through scenes, and I felt like I was going through hell because every time I skipped a scene, it just launched me into the next sex scene. I couldn't even skip between the story. Just every time I was like, next chapter, it was one sex scene. I'm like, okay, try again, next chapter. And it brought me to another sex scene in a different area. It was just insane.
I think they could have 100% dialed back like 60 to 75% and got their point through.
Yeah, like this is and I know there will be the rare chance of people where it's like, oh, but this film is nothing. You haven't seen this. Look,
I probably don't want to see that. Genuinely.
Yeah, like I know that there's probably worse films than this, but toot your own home. Be a film freak in your own home.
Please.
Why don't you?
Don't bring that over here. Yeah. Okay, please.
But yeah, so I would probably give it a 5 out of 10. I own it. I watched it with my boyfriend, and he's like, "Whoa, this movie was unique. I'm never watching it again." Because it's just very intense. And I genuinely think it's an hour and 45-minute film.
Does not feel like that.
If you cut out the sex scenes, you're probably taking 40 minutes away from the film.
No, actually, yeah.
Crazy, which is kind of crazy, And it's also like, it's not like, oh, we're under the covers schmoozing. There's no covers. They sleep on the floor. There's no covering. There's no layer. There's no hiding. Their kids are in the same room. Sometime where she's just telling them to go outside, and it's very weird, and it feels like it definitely has that like, oh, I feel like I'm not watching something that I'm watching currently. Yeah. And it's so hard to separate that feeling when watching this. So
that's why it's getting a 3. I
do want to see other work from the directors. I fear that it's only going to get worse from here in terms of sex pest and maturity, but maybe Mr. Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence is going to be a different take. But in the Realm of the Senses and stuff, because I even think In the Realm of the Senses stars the both of them again. Let me check.
You're going to have to do some like
stars the main star again. So it's Tetsuya Fuji is also in the Realm of the Senses. And I just read the plot for it. It's an X-rated
No,
film, and
thank
it
you.
says a passionate telling of the story of Sada Abe, a woman whose affair with her master
Oh
leads
God.
to an obsessive and ultimately destructive sexual relationship. Didn't we just watch that film? Didn't
No,
we just watch that just now?
Stephanie, I cannot watch that. I have to no. That's X-rated? What was this? What was, no, 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 no. No.
That is I just maybe if I look at this dude's filmography, it'll be like, oh yeah, he did porn before he did this, and I'd be like, this makes sense. You were bridging into your film career, and your film career led you from porn to porn movies with a little bit of cinema flair to then Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence.
No,
So
listen.
I just there's
Absolutely
literally
not.
no other information on this guy on IMDb. It just says that he was a Japanese film director, screenwriter, stage director, and author. So
No, listen. I think we're done here. I think we're done. I cannot watch. Maybe Merry Christmas. I hope that's going to go in a nice direction, but I don't
I'll
know.
check the rating. Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence is R
No.
for
No. For
for a
what?
1983 film. It's R.
No.
Okay, it's more war. It's more war. Unless is there sex?
Do not. I'm not watching this. No. It's going to be weird. If there's
No,
anything.
it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It says that it's just some men are shirtless for the sex and
Okay.
nudity for that one. So we'll revisit that one soon. Maybe, probably in my own personal private time. Maybe when I'm in a dark space,
No.
I will check out some more of his stuff. But it's yeah. So I'm not gonna
That'll
say never,
that'll be
but
like Freak Week,
oh my
second
god,
version
it's
of
just
Freak
me
Week.
watching all this stuff. No, it's got to be in the realm of the senses, and at some point I have to bring myself to it's not like curling up with a good book. You don't just grab Breaking the Waves by Lars von Trier, and you don't just sit down and watch that.
No.
Like I have to go through something. So maybe, who knows when that will be, when I go through something again, I'll kind of unravel a series of very intimate and crazy films for us to watch. Some that won't push the boundary a little too much, like this one did.
Listen, this is the last time this is it. I'm telling you, I can't go beyond this. This was
Okay,
this
this
was a
is it.
lot. This was
This
a
okay.
lot for me. On second viewing, for some reason it was worse too for me. On second viewing, I was like, "Oh god, it's all coming." The
You've
first
matured and it hits you back like war flashbacks too. So I understand. I won't make you go through something like this until I've seen it. And I'm sorry that I
pre-screen.
bestowed this to
No.
you as a gift and you felt compelled to watch it.
Dude, not your fault, because if I would have read that, I would have been like, "Oh, cool, like mystery, like ooh, like a little murder." I would have never thought that that's where this was going. That's what this movie was the central theme of. So I do not blame you. I think you were misled 100%. I was
Yeah,
misled.
I was like, ooh, I was like, ooh, I don't think she has any Japanese ghost stories, and like everything that from like Japan from that era. Well, not everything clearly, but like most of the stuff is like pretty cool. Like I thought I was gonna send you like a Tokyo Story or
Yeah.
like that type of stuff. Not not this film. So happy to have bestowed it upon you. I'm sorry you went through stuff, but I'm very happy also that you still had the courage to sit down and talk about it with me and view it a second
Anything for the purple noonies. Anything
time.
for yeah, we have to.
Well, next time it's going to be a very different realm of our senses. It's going to be Sunflower. The next time you guys will hear us, it'll be a much more milder film.
Dude,
Um,
that's so fun. I really love the movie Sunflower. It's not a happy movie by any means,
but
but
it's such a sweet relief compared to a film like this,
compared to this, yeah.
That's like going like, oh, now we're done with that doozy of a title, Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Like it's like that's kind of
That's
how
literally
this
a
movie
step
feels.
up. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but now we're going to talk about, well, next time we'll be talking about Sunflower. And in terms of other things that we have on our list, we Bestie, I'm bringing you back into a sex pest world, because at some point too, within the next 10 episodes, we're talking about one of my favorites, Blue Velvet.
Oh wow, that's been forever since I've watched Blue Velvet with you.
Okay, I have the list here. So the next things that we have lined up are Sunflower.
Cool.
I have The Last Metro, but I'm thinking about deleting that since our leading man in that film has made very bad decisions in life.
Oh yeah.
And then we have Cool Hand Luke, which
what?
I feel like...
Wait, what's it called?
Where did we put Cool Hand Luke?
What's that? What's that?
Cool Hand Luke? That's the Paul Newman film.
Oh, okay.
Why did I pick Cool Hand Luke? I guess I was just trying to jazz it up, and oh my god, that's so funny. It's Paul Newman in a Florida prison farm. We're watching it.
Cool Hand Luke.
Florida man.
And okay, so we got Sunflower.
Oh my god. I think after this video, I think we actually have to go back into our list and rearrange some stuff, because we go from this to Sunflower to Last Metro to Cool Hand Luke. Then we go into 1962's Lolita.
Okay, yeah, we can't have that.
Mirror.
Okay.
Then we go into Mona Lisa, which was like a newer Criterion release. Blue Velvet. Le Secret Rouge.
Wait, Steph, I have a different list.
What do you mean you have a different list?
I have a different list.
What does your list say?
Empire of Passion, Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and actors.
Oh, okay.
Did we update it?
Yes, we did. Okay, because cool. I went in. I thought I had sent you the other one. My bad. Because I went in and I sent you a screenshot from a different document. That's why. So we have because I was just trying to make the as we approach 100. I was just trying to make some of the episodes a little more varied. So, but now looking at it, we just go from Empire of Passion to Blue Velvet to Lolita to Cool Hand Luke.
It'll be a real.
I think we'll review this. I mean, it sounds like a fun list, but maybe
we can add some stuff in between. We can add some stuff in between.
I think we'll need to add in a feel good movie.
Yeah. Okay.
At some point is something that we should add in. But so that is the current outline for our films and stuff. So be sure to be on the lookout for more Purple Noon, as well as some of the short form contents that we were talking about before. And as always, thank you so much to our patrons. We have Sensei David, Homeboy James, Danny Boy, and our buddy Ryan. Thank you guys so much for supporting, and we are looking forward to providing new content to you guys via Patreon. And yeah, so next time you guys will hear from us, we will be talking about Sunflower. Any last remarks, Savanna?
If you're thinking of watching this movie, like I said, please just get the fast forward button ready. And hold on tight.
Oh, and also the other last thing I will say with this film that I kind of wish I had discovered earlier. There is a dubbing. I feel like, and I'm sorry, there is an English voiceover on the Criterion DVD, which I didn't know.
Oh, I didn't know either.
I didn't know. And I was watching it. I was also very impressed because usually voiceovers from the 70s, 80s, and 90s are horrible.
Yeah.
This one actually seemed pretty good. So I can't fully recommend it, but I will say it is an option if you would prefer to watch a movie like this with some type of voiceover instead of, because when you're reading the titles too, you're kind of forced to watch everything, you can't look away. So there's also that option too. But thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time when we talk about Sunflower. Bye.
Bye.